Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Habibis podcast. Three game developers drinking good Arab tea. I'm your host, Osama Dorias.
And I am Fawzi Mesmar, and I was on time today.
Wow. Were you? Were you really though?
It's noteworthy what he is.
I was
though.
on
Give him
Arab
this.
time, baby.
And I am Rami Ismail. And I was on time this episode.
He was.
It was very good. I don't know. Like, I guess I'll kick it off then, since Fawzi already did his segment. Like, that was it.
That's my biggest accomplishment this week, is being almost on time.
Yeah, I don't know. I played some video games, as I do. The first one was an indie game called Nuts, and it is made by a small team of developers I've known for a long time. So it was really exciting for me to get to play that. So let me try and explain it. It's a surveillance game where you have to surveil your targets using cameras. So you set up your cameras around the level, and then you have to make sure that your target is in view at specific moments. Your targets are squirrels.
I see where the name comes from now.
Exactly. You're trying to surveil these squirrels, and it kind of plays like an inverted tower defense, I guess. You set up your turrets in such a way that they will see the squirrels, and then you go back to your headquarters, which is like a little caravan or like a little building. You hit the record button, and then it turns night, and then you hit play on the videotape, and you see the squirrels through the cameras. And you kind of have to like extrapolate, okay, so the squirrel ran by my camera, so I guess I have to turn this camera around or like pick it up and move it back 30 feet or like 10 meters and then try again. But you're continuously trying to adjust for these squirrels. And let me tell you, first level, very straightforward. You see the squirrel, you go, okay, let's follow it. But then as the game goes, there's like fake squirrels. There's like the wrong squirrels. There's squirrels that like run towards your camera, and then you go like, okay, move 10 meters back. And then the step after your camera just goes left, and you're like, what are you? So by now I want to have these squirrels for dinner, like at some point. Like,
our food episode was last week, Rami. I'm sorry.
Right.
Stay on topic.
But there's a sort of like a mystery story, like a thriller-esque mystery story going in the background, and it's very pretty. It's using color in a very interesting way. Every level has like a color, and the game is sort of entirely that color, kind of monochromatic almost. It's really nice. I'm playing it on Switch, and you can definitely tell that performance-wise, it's pushing it.
Okay. The main question I have is, you do this over multiple nights in order to find out where the squirrels are coming from for each location or for each sequence,
right?
Are they scripted, the squirrels, or is it like they're randomly playing like through an AI? Like
no, they're scripted. So
they're scripted. So it's exactly, regardless of where you put your camera, they're going to play the exact same scene,
the exact same route. Yeah. So the squirrels always want. They even say it at the start, like the squirrels are very like they're very ritual squirrels.
Predictable.
So, they'll run the exact same route every night. But like there's a level where the squirrel jumps across like a little gap. And I just didn't know squirrels could do that in the game. I guess squirrels can do that in real life. I don't have much experience with squirrels, to be honest.
They're jumpers. I've seen them jump.
Right. So I was just like, okay, well, he's walking up this rock, so he's got to come down this rock again. So I set my cameras up around the rock, and I just waited, and there was no squirrel. And I'm like, where did the squirrel go? So I went up the rock, and I put a camera on the rock, and the squirrel just ran by me. And I'm like, does this squirrel jump? So I put the camera on the other side, and yep, there it goes. It jumped. And like every time you set up your cameras and you want to see the squirrels, you go back to the caravan. It turns night, and then you watch the recording back. It's very physical, all of the interaction. So if you get your mission via piece of paper that comes in via fax. You grab the piece of paper, you put it on the whiteboard, and then you read it. Right? You print a camera. You have to turn this little knob on the printer to be set to the right screen, and then use it. Hit the print button, the piece of paper comes out, you grab the piece of paper, you put it in the fax it. So it's this nice little physical space. that you play around with. You can rotate the camera with this little knob on the camera, and you can just kind of like, like one of those tripod extensions that lets you move the camera a bit, where you can like sort of rotate it. So it is a very interesting interaction model. Like the way you interact with everything, it's just very, very physical, very nice, kind of pleasant. And then the scrolls are just the worst. I'm really enjoying the game. It's
a 3D game.
Yeah, it's 3D. Yeah. And like I said, it has to be your style, but it's pretty, right? It's not like we use 3D. This is like properly considered as an aesthetic of how it looks and what it does. So I'm really enjoying it. I ran into a save/load bug that removed my progress on the hardest chapter of the game so far.
Oh, no.
So I have to do that chapter again, and I'm not super looking forward to it, but I'm enjoying what I'm playing so far.
That's cool. It's a hard game to Google, I tell you that much.
I also played the new Mario, Super Mario 3D World. I mean,
it's the Wii U one, right?
Yeah,
right, it's the Wii U one that re-released. They added a new part called Bowser's Fury, but I'm playing through the Wii U part, and it's as good. It's as good as I remember. It's well done.
I put in a lot of time in that game with my kids. We loved it. And
I'm still so worried about that yellow cat Mario, man. Like every time I say, I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like I'm not okay with like the growing out of your body when you eat a mushroom. That's messed up. And like fireballs, a little uncomfortable. But turning into a yellow cat, I would go see a doctor. Like I'm not sure about this one.
It's his most uncomfortable metamorphosis, that's for sure.
Right. Seems like it. So that's good so far. And I've started on the new season of Destiny. And that is very good. Exceptionally good. They redid the main structure of the game. So that normally it kind of leaves you to do what you want, right? And this time what they've done is they've added these optional weekly challenges. And the weekly challenges really feed back into the activities in the game. And they're smart because you have this bounty system, and it seemingly randomly generates a weekly bounty and then daily bounties. And you grab them and they give you progress. But the problem with that system is because they are or feel somewhat random, they don't have interesting interplay, right? So you might be having to do one thing for the one bounty and then another thing for the other bounty. You need to carry one weapon for the one bounty and the other for the other, and it never feels satisfying. It always felt kind of like, I got to do the grind, right? These weekly challenges, they seem custom designed. Well, they are custom designed. There's no way they're not custom designed because their interplay is great. Like one of them will get you progress towards that challenge, but also a little bit in the other one. So now you're like, okay, I should finish that one, right? Like check off the box. And then that one plays a little bit into the next one. And so for the first time since I've started playing Destiny, the game is sort of telling you like, hey, if you just check these 10 boxes, right, this week, then you'll be up to date on the story. You'll be up to date on the power curve. You'll be up to date on what is happening in the game. You'll have played some strikes. You'll have played some PvP. You'll have played some Gambit, which is a Destiny unique mode. And you can leave. You can come back or you can grind more. That's up to you. Next week, more challenges. And they've already said that if you don't complete the challenges during that week, they'll just stay. Yeah. And you'll still make progress to them in the future. And at the end of the season, there'll be a few weeks without new challenges, so you can catch up. And, games as a service is hard to design. It's hard to design a structure. It's hard to design something satisfying. I think they really nailed it on this one. The rewards are more predictable. The progress in one thing gives you progress in all the things. It's wonderful. I've checked my 10 boxes for this week. I can't wait for next week.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I've played some games as well. The first one I've played is your recommendation, 13 Sentinels. So, to my embarrassment, I realized that it's pronounced Aegis Rim because I've been saying it embarrassingly wrong for my entire life because it's a word I never heard said. It was always just a thing I read and I tried to figure it out.
These are your embarrassments, Osama. These are the things you're embarrassed at.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how I used to pronounce it because then you'd like facepalm.
That's very low on my list of embarrassment. Like maybe like around the 500, maybe below.
Oh yeah.
I mispronounced the word.
Oh, there were a few words that I've changing the topic slightly.
Yeah,
There's a few words that I had learned only from reading. Like I used to say Ari instead of Arai. I knew the word Arai, I just didn't know how to write it, and I thought Ari and Arai were the two different words that meant the same thing. Like things like that, where you're just like, I didn't,
English is like your third language, mate, like, or second language at least. So
it was the third I learned, actually. So
right.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So 13 Sentinels is surprising in many ways and predictable in a lot of others. If I haven't finished it, of course, so I'm going to come back and talk about it a little bit more later. But the one thing that's like really surprising about it is it throws you into the story without any training wheels, like right away. You're like, oh, just from the very beginning, you realize, okay, some people are confused. They don't know what they're talking about. Other people know everything and they're not talking yet. There's time travel involved. Like right away, you figure out there's time travel involved, and you're like, well, okay, where am I, and what happened before this? And now they're talking, and it just changed scenes, and they just introduced a seventh character. Like already at this point, I even memorized the names of the first three, and I'm trying to keep everything straight, but it keeps you in there. Like it's interesting, it's intriguing. It keeps introducing a mystery after the next, where I'm like, okay, I want to know why that person did that thing, like suspiciously, while the other person was spying on them, and why he thinks that she's someone else, or all that thing. It's intriguing. The predictable thing is kind of more thematic, other than the narrative. Like it's another thing based in the school, like in Japanese school with giant robots. Like I don't know yet, because it's still at the beginning, so maybe they're going to introduce other thematic elements that are new or fresh. But right now, it's like it's such a mishmash of new and interesting takes, like mechanically, and like how it is that you're talking to people is still visually like interesting, like the UX experience of it, of like you have all these thoughts, and you like it's hard to describe without visuals, but like you could like look back at characters and like think about them. Like basically you click on their name, and you have like an internal monologue of who they are, and it's a good refresher because they introduce so many things so quickly. Sometimes like, wait, they just mentioned that person's name, who is this person? I can't remember anymore. So it's really interesting, and you could actually link it to other people. So if you could ask someone about something in the same way. You're like, hey, I'm thinking about this, and now I want you to think about this. What do you want to like mechanically, UX experience wise? It introduced a few things. I like the combat. I didn't get to a point where it's hard at all. I'm still doing, like, I think it's very long, and I expect it's very long into the tutorial phase, where it's like, here's a thing, now you could use it. But I like it so far. I'm actually really happy that you asked me to play it. It's one of those games that I cannot play when my kids are around, because my kids, even when I'm not with them, I'm with them, if that makes sense. Which I'm going to touch on in the next game that I played this week, and show you what I mean. So like the time for it is going to be a little bit limited. It'll take me a while to finish it, but I'm really happy that it's there. It's one of those.
Yeah. It's in like the thing I think is really interesting is that if you would make a bingo card with sci-fi tropes, it would not be a very interesting bingo game, because you would complete the full card, right? Not just one line, like the entire
both sides of the card.
Like everything gets checked. But it's really cool because you don't know how they connect, right?
Yeah.
And I think that for me, that's part of where the beauty of the game is. Like you kind of know all the things that might happen or could happen, but the joy of the game becomes in figuring out which ones it isn't, right, or how it doesn't work. And
they're throwing a few things that I'm assuming are red herrings, like pushing in different directions, but I don't know for sure, and I'm looking forward to finding out if that's actually the case or not.
I enjoyed that game a lot.
Yeah,
so I'm enjoying it now.
Like I don't think I played anything like it before.
No, I don't think I'll ever play anything like it again.
Yeah.
So
that's high praise. That's really high praise. The other game I played is called Wobbledogs. And
what?
Wobbledogs, one word.
Wobbledogs. We have nuts and Wobbledogs this week. This is an
episode. What's going on?
So you can like
indie week.
Look it up. It's from a company called Animal Uprising, which a developer called Animal Uprising, which I think it's their first game. I've never heard of them before.
Oh my god!
Yes. So it's like The Sims meets Viva Pinata slash Dogs Cats from the Microsoft games from before. The dogs are wobbly and they can mate, and then their offspring are more wobbly. That's like the pitch of the game. So what's
I
interesting is it was recommended to me, so I got it and I started playing it, and then I couldn't get far into it, even though I was enjoying it, because my daughter was like, "What's that?" And she kind of like showed up and she's like, "Can I play?" And she pushed me out of the way, and she spent hours on it while I was watching and like helping her a little bit to understand the concepts. What's cool about it is that there's discovery all along, because they're wobble dogs and not just dogs. They behave and they do things differently. Like when they mate, they kind of enter like a cocoon, and then they emerge with like a spawn. So like they do things like that to, I think, maybe so they keep it a little bit PG
was
for
just about to say,
kids.
I don't think I want the alternative in a video
No,
game. Like,
yeah, but it's not even like the usual. There's a little dog house, and they go inside, and there's a heart that comes up. Like there's not there are usual tropes with this. Where here they just throw it out. They're like, nope, this is a
right.
wobble dog. It's like it behaves completely differently. The foods that you feed it are kind of hilarious, like French fries and hot dogs and things like that. Like you're not actually feeding it anything that you would normally have as a staple food. It's very colorful, and my daughter just completely latched onto it. It's absolutely up her alley because she loved Viva Pinata. I reintroduced Viva Pinata to her because it was a game I bought because I thought my wife would love it, and then I at one point I sat down to show her how to play because she had never played a sim game before, and she just like, oh, I'm not really interested. I'm like, no, it's really good. And next thing I knew, I unlocked the achievement for 50 hours, and I'm like, well, I guess this is a game for me. So I
So do you? So do you understand now? No, I'll show you more. I'll show you more.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I absolutely love Viva
She's
Pinata,
like,
and I
Osama, I
choose.
went to work and came back. That was 2 days ago.
Those are great games. I really like that. I used to play The Sims too a while back, and my daughters absolutely love The Sims. My son loves City Skyline. Like it runs in the family. We like these kind of games. So when my daughter saw it, she kind of pushed me out of the way. So this is a game I have to wait until my kids go to sleep so I could get a chance to play, which is a good, that's
Good problem.
yeah,
I
it's a good
remember
problem
seeing
to
the
have.
trailer for this. Now that I'm seeing the screenshots.
Yeah,
Yeah, the trailer for this, but it's not just a sim game, right? This is
no,
also a puzzle game and like
yes,
weird systems everywhere. Everything is ridiculous, but
it's
also
exactly.
everything is a system.
Yeah, exactly. There's like from what I could tell from what she was doing, there's also a mating mini game where you could like try to breed them into different other wobbly dogs. But I didn't get a chance to really like jump
Did she
into
play for 50 hours and then look at you and go like, "So do you understand now?" Or
that. Yeah, you could say that.
right,
Yeah, it's
That
close to
runs in
that.
the
She's like,
family too.
pretty much. I mean, genetics, they're weird.
right.
What about you, Fauzi? What'd you play this week?
I only played the medium. I wanted to complete to finish the game. I spoke about it last week, so spoke about the mechanics mostly and how the game runs. Finishing it through, like what I think about the game right now. So, like having seen most of the game, is that the puzzles are interesting and fun for what they are, but they never like really present a level of challenge that makes the puzzles the thing you want to play the game for.
Hmm.
The game doesn't have combat, and it has stealth sections, but like it's not a stealth game. It's not there's no combat with the monsters, so it's it doesn't make it a survival horror game because you're not managing resources or anything like that. So it's not really the spooky part or the combat that you're playing the game for. It stands most entirely on its narrative, right? So like you're playing it for the story. And I've been thinking about this because I felt that the way the story was given to me, like first of all, it felt slow paced and at some sort. The character movement and how you explore things was a bit slow. That's part of it. But there's another part. Like as I'm playing the game, kind of thinking to myself, why is the story losing me, and why is it not captivating for me as I'm playing it? And then like I noticed that the developers kind of put themselves in an interesting situation with the decisions that they've made, in which like you are your own person, kind of venturing into an unknown place. So
Hmm.
therefore, any kind of revelation or story comes out as exposition. The
Mm,
character is kind of thinking out loud.
mm,
It's like, and that's like, why a lot of games kind of put other characters there, or like, why The Last of Us is so loved is because there's the two characters are kind of riffing off of each other,
yeah,
Right.
or that like they
discovering
speak to
each
each
other.
other about a certain topic. So like, not only do the revelations come out naturally, but also like you come to know those characters because you know how they react to things.
Yeah.
Whereas in Marianne's case, whenever she wanted to talk, she's mostly talking about, looks like something happened here.
Hmm.
That explains why the ladder was broken 5 minutes ago. Every line sounds exposition, or like,
Right.
so he was murdered. What could that mean?
Just like
Yeah,
this body in a puddle with like their little arms ripped
yeah,
off, and she's like,
yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
looks murdered. It's like,
Exactly. So, by the way, all of these examples are made up, so there's no spoilers in anything I
right.
said.
Thank you.
Um, but there's a lot of that level of exposition. So, like, when something happens to Marianne, I'm also not connected to her because I don't know her. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
I don't know how she reacts to things. I don't know how she feels about things. All I know is that she is going through this thing, and I hear her thoughts. That is mostly exposition and narrative.
Right.
Uh,
It's not how she feels about it, it's how you should feel about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or like this
Right.
thing that you should know by yourself, I'm also telling it to you, which gives you
Right.
like,
Yeah.
a bit of a Zelda support character kind of annoyance. Like, yeah,
Right.
Fee, I
Right.
know. I am pushing the box.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that I need to push the box. I am pushing the box. So
I like how Uncharted kind of does that with puzzles where they just let you push the box at the beginning, and then if you don't
mhm.
push the box, then they tell you, "Hey, that box looks interesting." And then if you
Yes,
still don't push the box, they'll
Right.
say, "Hey, idiot, go push the box."
yes,
Maybe they
Yep.
could try
exactly.
something like that with exposition too, where they're like, initially just comment on the thing's existence and how you feel about it, and then
Yeah.
if the
I was
person just lingers, give them more.
Yeah. It's a bunch of like, like you can tell that there was a guiding vision for the game, and that kind of like cornered some creative decisions going forward. Like, um, I think at some point, like, this is me speculating. I don't know anyone who worked on this game. So like, at some point they were probably going like, we don't want backtracking in this game.
mhm.
Like most of these like Silent Hill type games, you backtrack and you find items to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
So we go like, we don't want any of this backtracking stuff. But because of this, the puzzle are almost always self-contained. So you go into the room, and everything you need to solve the puzzle is in the room.
Right.
So at some point, you kind of figure out what needs to be done, and then it starts to feel to you like you're going through the motions.
Right.
I'm like, all right, so I need to get this scissors to cut this paper to stick it on the fridge. Also made up example. um, Also terrible made up example, because why would you
Right.
stick a paper on the fridge? I think there's a bunch of that. Like the strengths of the game come from the setting, the spooky setting, the ghosts, the haunted part of it, the supernatural part of it. I think the game doesn't rely on jump scares almost at all, which I kind of respect. At that they mostly rely on building atmosphere. But
Right.
as a game maker, as I'm playing it, I'm not really worried because I know where the fail state is and I'm gonna retry. So it didn't get to me. But
Right.
if I was superstitious,
Right.
uh,
I mean, is because I was just thinking about the scissors. Right? You gave that example about scissors. Do you? Because in Egypt we have a superstition that you can't leave scissors open,
Hmm.
right? Or you shouldn't use scissors without cutting anything, right? There's like is there a similar superstition for y'all where you can't use scissors without cutting anything or like leaving them open?
I haven't heard that
yeah,
specific one.
first one for me
Uh,
actually. Yeah,
Yeah, we have a
I,
whole bunch of. If you want superstitions, I have a whole long list that I
right,
could share with you.
uh,
No
tell us.
problems. Well, okay. So this is the interesting part growing up is because my parents were both the source of my access to superstition from Iraq, but also religion, and a lot of times these two things kind of merged where I didn't know if one thing had any like let's say it straight like
religious,
any religious backing at all, or if it was just completely something that came out of culture. No judgments either way, just saying it straight. One of my mom's favorite things to tell us is pick up your prayer rugs because the angels are holding it up, and you don't want them to hold it up forever, the entire day. And this
right?
was like, it turned out, of course, later on I realized that there had zero like linked to religion whatsoever. It was just a cultural thing
Yeah.
that didn't come up from any hadith or any sayings of the prophet. But what was interesting about it is, as a kid, I'm like, they're angels. Like, let them hold it up. What else do they have to do?
we, we had the opposite. Like if you leave it up, if you leave it there, the devil will dance on it. Right?
Oh,
Shaitan will sit on it, and that's also not good.
well, we had
Uh,
the wash your face when you wake up in the morning because the devil spat on it at night while you were sleeping.
what is the devil up to, man? Like this.
Oh no, he's a
This is
busy
like
man.
the worst prankster in the history of like just spitting on people and like
It's
dancing
also
on
like
the prayer rug.
he's spying on every meal until they're like, oh, those people didn't say Bismillah. Let's jump in,
Yeah,
boys. We'll bring in all the other shayateen. We got free meals over here.
But some of these go really intense. Like the air conditioning or fans. You shouldn't
Yes.
leave fans running in your room when you go to bed because you will die. I
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
where did this start? Because like the thing is, like, some of these you can kind of like, you can retrace them through the past, right? You can
Yes.
kind of figure out, okay, so but where did the idea come from? Is this just something that parents made up to tell their kids that to lower their energy bill? Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, if you leave the takif running at night, like you will suffocate. And it's like,
Yeah.
because I
It probably
genuinely
has a
thought
root.
that-
Well, that's the thing. That's the confusion, is because the parents are. That's why we were very careful with our kids. Changing topic just slightly, we're very careful with our kids not to, with the topic of Santa Claus, because we realize that we are the source of everything that they know. And from our point of view, like me and my wife, when we discussed it, we're like, "What do we do about Santa Claus?" We decided we didn't want to tell them Santa Claus was real, but we also didn't want to put them in a situation where they felt like they weren't part of the culture here of talking about Santa Claus. And what we landed on is that we were going to tell them that Santa Claus is real in the same way Spider-Man is real. He's in movies, but it's really a person wearing a costume. So yeah, Spider-Man is real. It's a real character, and Santa Claus is a real character. So this way they don't slip up and say, "Oh, you believe in Santa? Santa's not real," in front of their kid, like their friends who are kids, like and kind of ruin that for them. They can still participate in the, "Oh, that's Santa. I know what Santa is." And in a similar way, the reason we did that is because me growing up, I didn't have that filter. Like, what is, like, my parents would say both the superstitious thing and the religious thing and the science thing, because my dad is a petroleum engineer and he loves physics, like back to back to back, and I couldn't tell the difference. Like, where are the lines, right? Like, I believed it all because I'm
Right.
until I was a teenager, and I didn't believe any of it because that's the natural progression of how
Right.
it goes.
But
Yeah.
did you really told your kids Spider-Man's not real?
No, Spider-Man is real. Like, of course, he's a real character in comic books and movies. Rami, stop it.
One of the, I think one of the, like the aspects of Arab culture that I like think about, as I explained to my friends who are not from the region, is like the concept of the evil eye, or the eye of
Right.
the envious, right?
Yeah.
So like most Arab people, like if you say like, "Oh, I envy you," they'll be like,
Yeah.
why would you do that?
Yeah.
Because like the concept of envy is kind of different, right? So like for
Yeah.
those who are listening, envy, like for Arabs, it's not like wishing what the other person has, is wishing that the other person loses what they have so that you
Yeah.
can have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like a huge thing in the Middle East in terms of like, if you say like, I've got this good thing, right, then you need to protect it from the evil eye, because somebody could like go like, "Oh, that's a nice car you have here." If somebody
Right.
would say that, then that
Yeah.
means that they automatically have cursed your car,
Right.
Yes.
and you need to immediately protect it with blue jewelry. And what is this like?
Like turquoise sort of
blue rock-
stones,
exactly,
or like the
turquoise
little
stones.
eye hanger.
With the eye,
Yes.
like there's the Hamza. I think it's in a lot of cultures in the Middle East. It's basically a palm of the hand, and there's an eye in the middle of it.
Right.
And that's usually, it's basically a hand to repel the eye of the envious.
It's just really nice that the eye of the envious is so like considerate of our, like, stop gestures.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly. No, please, no envy.
Yes,
Okay, no problem. I'll envy
sorry.
someone else.
I'll go to the neighbors.
I'll envy somebody else. And we have this thing like we used to say like some of the kids at school, they'll be like, this boy Ahmed, he has a hot eye. So what that means is that whether he intends it or not, Ahmed has this ability to curse people. Like he will envy you whether you like to like, oh wow, you guys have a really nice door. Boom, door collapses immediately.
Right, immediately.
There's like bad luck follows Ahmed in whatever he points out at. And
Right.
and it constantly like you need to like protect yourself from his eye or anything like that.
Yeah. The most extreme version of that I've encountered is I used to work in retail at one point with this Lebanese guy who I'm not kidding. I complimented his shirt and he's like took it off and gave it to me. He's like, here, it's yours. And like in his eyes, it's like this is the sacrifice I'm making so that the
Not
hasad
have to
doesn't
deal.
hit me and something else worse happens to me later.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I've always been fascinated by, because like so my family is Muslim, right? Like Egyptian Muslims, and
Mhm.
it's the religion is kind of very clear about the idea of superstition being not right, right?
Mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
But then I would look at my grandma and she would lay in bed at night and she would start pointing up at the ceiling with her finger and make a circle with her hand and then
Yeah.
point at the door.
Huh.
And I would ask, like, what are you doing? And she'd be like, well, first I catch the evil spirits and then I point them at the door.
Clearly.
And like, you're that powerful that you can collect these spirits and then just like be like, and out you go.
You can't find the remote control, but you could do
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah. But it was stuff like that, like shoes have to be sold down, right?
Yeah.
And not just because that's polite. Like the sole of a shoe is an insult, right? In the Arab world, to the point where I had to half unlearn how to sit in Western society, because they sit. I've always been taught, like, if you want to sit sort of in a relaxed state in a talk or something, you sit with your one foot cross over the other, right? So one of your foot would be vertical, and one of your legs would be vertical, and one of your legs would be horizontal, and it's sort of like a relaxed sit. But if I would do that in Egypt, like,
Yeah.
I'd be in trouble because I'm exposing the sole of my shoe to the person sitting next to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the superstition version of that is that like inverted shoes were used for magic or something, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
just
that's
not
what I
don't wear
wanted to
shoes.
get at. Like it blurs after a while. Okay, so I used to have an Islamic teacher when I was younger, and I would ask him these these questions. They were weird questions, but most of them started with why. Right. One of the
mhm,
things I remember is that one of the hadith is that the Prophet Muhammad, because I'm Muslim as well, Prophet Muhammad used to eat in threes. So whenever he ate a thing, it would be an odd number. He would eat 1 date or 3 dates or 5 dates. He wouldn't eat 2 dates or 4 dates, and that confused me. I'm like, what's it? Why? Why would you do that? So I asked my imam, and he's like, look, the importance is it wasn't the number, it was the fact that people were counting so that they were aware of what goes into their belly. But if you remove the intention behind it from the actual concept, it becomes superstitious. People will like smack your hand and you'll drop 2 dates, and you're like, why are you eating 2 dates? You're supposed to eat three. And like, but that's not the important part. Like if I just didn't pay attention, it's not a big deal. The intention is like to have develop this habit where what's going into your body, so you're not just like opening up a big bag and eating until your stomach hurts. That's what's there to avoid. If you hit my hand, then now my hand hurts. You're not actually fixing a problem, right?
I wonder if there's any superstitions that cross the country lines, because it does sound like each of us have different superstitions, right? Rather than all of us having the same ones. Do you have the one? I once got in trouble when I was a really young kid because I had heard that if you pinch a bride to be, that'll give
Yeah.
you luck in love or something.
What?
And
Yeah.
right. So that's about like that's one. Anyway, so I pinched a bride to be, but also I'm a boy, and that's not.
Isn't
You're
that
not.
haram?
No.
That's ultra haram. But like I was like 8 or something. So I was like, this seems fair. Like the 5 people jumped me to be like, no.
Not you.
Get
Right.
'em.
So I misunderstood that one.
But that's
but
a
it's
similar
like,
concept to the taking off the shirt part, because if you succumb to one, then you ward off any worst thing that could happen. It's like there's this
right.
equilibrium that's met if you pinch someone and cause them a little bit of pain, so a worse thing won't happen to them later.
Right.
Yeah.
So
The shoe stuff that you mentioned, cross country lines. Like I think that's pan Arab. If you show somebody the sole of your shoe,
right.
Yeah.
it's insult. But that's like more insult rather than superstition.
Yeah, I don't think
Uh,
we agree that that's a magic thing or something. I
No.
think
yeah,
we
yeah,
agree that that's bad.
that's
Like
bad. Yeah, but that
don't do it.
no.
Yeah.
Do you guys have this thing with like if there's evil spirits or like magic of some sort that you need to get like a special type of incense called bakhur,
Yeah.
and then you light it up, associate it to a chain. But then what you do with it, I feel like different people have said different things. Like there are people that like light it in like this, I don't know, it's a vase or whatever you light the incense. What is the container where you light incense in? A container that you light incense in.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. And then you light the incense in that thing, and then you have to jump over it like 7 times.
Ilahui.
Yeah, you need to jump back and forth over that thing so that you
Wow.
get instant smoke up your bum, and that's how like the evil spirits go away.
Okay, that I haven't seen. I've just seen
Yeah.
the put it everywhere in the house until you can't breathe.
Are you
That
sure that's not your friends just giving you? You're the only Jordanian that believes that. Like,
What do you mean? I jump over it every day before I go to bed.
oh, of course. For science, you need to record yourself doing that. I need to witness
I mean,
this.
it can't hurt, and it's good exercise.
right, that's true. That's true. At least until you get older, and then jumping 7 times over a thing is just gonna break
I'm
your
kidding.
hip or something.
There's
But
this
you
thing
have
that
the
aunties do when
soothsaying.
like they
Yeah.
put the container on a chain and then they turn it around
Right.
and old aunties they make kissing sounds as they're doing it. They go like, "Oh, I'll protect you from the evil being," as they're
Right.
doing that.
One interesting one is the predictions. So what the women would do often when someone was pregnant is they would have a needle. They'd take the needle, tie a string to it, and put the needle into the like the HB pencils, like with the eraser at the end.
Right.
They'd stick the needle into the eraser part, and they would dangle the that's where it came from, the dangle the pencil over the belly of the pregnant woman, and if it makes circular motions, then it's the baby's going to be a girl, and if it goes side to side, then the baby's a boy, and they believe it like I've never seen before. Like I'm like I've made the mistake once of saying, yeah, this is fun and all, but you don't really believe this, do you? And everyone
Yeah,
just paused, looked at me, and said, this it happened to this person, and it like confirmation bias was coming out of it. It happened to this
Right.
person, this person, your mom.
Here comes the ship.
Yes.
Yeah. No, don't never doubt your aunties. It's like lesson 1 in the Arab world, I think. Like just do not doubt. Doubt your father, it's gonna get you in trouble. Doubt your aunties, that's a lifelong problem, right? Like
absolutely.
do not doubt the aunties. I don't know. It's interesting though, because I always like every country, every culture, right, has its superstitions, its beliefs, its cultures. But I feel the ones that I've come across in the Arab world are like so magic-y, right? They're so it's so clear that they're probably pre-Islamic.
Yeah.
And I always wonder if somebody would look at the Western society.
Well, there's a lot of superstitions in many cultures, like the
Right.
salt, the Friday 13th,
Like the 13th floor,
ladders.
exactly.
Yeah,
We just have really fun ones.
Yeah.
I think that's it. They're just they're so unbelievably fun and strange, and just like the pencil thing. I think I've heard that.
It's cool. I've heard that before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the best part about the superstition is that you have a 50% chance of being right. Half the time.
With that one. Yeah.
It's like a very, very nice odds on that superstition. It's
Yeah,
kind
but
of
like-
like I can guess your horoscope if I try 12 times.
Right.
You can't go wrong with that.
How about cats? Are cats good for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, cats in well, I don't know how it is anymore since the war, but before, basically, cats were just strays, and people would leave out water for, milk for them and food for them. They don't have the same culture as here, where like you let them into your house necessarily. They're more just like they're
Right.
outside and they just do their thing. Yeah.
Right. And black cats?
Black cats are bad luck in Jordan.
Right.
They're not bad luck. They believe that they're. It's interesting. They believe that they're genies
Right, the
that
spirits.
are coming to visit the world, And we have this other thing is that if you hear a donkey, what
Bay.
does the donkey sound name?
Baying.
Baying. If you hear a donkey baying, then they've probably seen a devil.
Huh.
Yo.
Oh, I was wrong. It's actually neighing. I looked it up because I'm like, okay, I made up a word today. Maybe that should be the title of our podcast.
Baying.
A donkey neighing. He just disapproves of everything. Oh, nay, nay, but I am a donkey.
I feel like there must be somebody who has collected all of these superstitions across the Middle East, right? There must be
It must be a book or something.
Right. I need to find this book because this is great.
Or if
I just want to know. I want to know all the ones. I also want to know how normal my family is then.
Yeah.
Right. Because now I'm just hearing all your stories and all my stories, and I'm like, so which one of these are just in my family?
Yeah.
And how many of these are actually like Egyptian or Arab?
Tell me about it. I'm not jumping over any containers anymore. I've lived my entire life. I'm gonna throw that stuff out
the
the
YouTube
door.
channel of you just jumping over in. I watch that.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your homeboy here. Smash that like button. Jump over that incense. Let's get those legs moving.
I think this is a good part, a good point to ask everybody actually to smash that subscribe button for us as well.
Oh, nice.
Was it? Thank you. So that's it. Actually, the podcast is growing. We're really happy with how well it's doing. The feedback is incredible, and a lot of people have asked us what they could do to help us out with that. And the main thing is, spread the word. Let other people know. If you haven't subscribed yet, if you just bookmarked it or anything, subscriptions do help. Right. Give us feedback, send us emails. All that is great. Just read the notes. And definitely emails. We read them. We all respond to them. We fight each other to see who could respond first. That's how excited we are when we get emails. So
right. Our email is info@thehabibis.com.
That's
I think.
The one.
I believe
right.
So.
And we have the Discord too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Discord is up and running. That's cool.
And it's a good time so far. I'm with it. Lots of new people already. It's at discord.thehabibis.com. I just checked.
Nice.
So you can also go there, I guess.
Come hang out.
That's it for this week. Thank you all for listening, and see you next week.
Salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I'm Osama Dorias, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Osama Dorias. My fellow Habibis were Rami Ismail, you can find on Twitter at @THA_Rami, and Fawzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fawzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu alaikum.